Hello and welcome to Bourbon Forage Fishing. We are going to do a whiskey market update for, basically April Fool's 2025. We're going to look at some of the headline news, some of the market numbers, where we think some of this stuff is leading, what to expect. Today we're going to talk mostly about tariffs. Obviously, as you can see here, the EU is planning on imposing a 50% tariff on American whiskey. A move in retaliation to U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum imports, which could have significant impacts on American whiskey industry. Now, if we want to look at some of the numbers, it might be kind of interesting. The EU imposed a 25% retaliatory tariff on American whiskey in response to the U.S. tariffs on steel and aluminum in 2018, which led to a 20% plunge in whiskey exports to the EU. So if the tariff's 50, I guess we could expect about a 50% decrease in the rate of exports to Europe. And these are some of the numbers we're looking at. American whiskeys continue to drive overall U.S. spirits exports. In 2023, American whiskeys accounted for 63% of all the spirit exports in value terms, 34% in volume terms. The top 5 export markets are the American Union, 705 million, Australia 121, Japan 106, United Kingdom 86, Canada 76. So some of these tariffs aren't going to affect. I think we're okay with Australia. Don't quote me on that. I don't think we're having any tariff issues with Japan and Australia, so those shouldn't be an effect. Obviously the EU and the United Kingdom, isn't United Kingdom, I mean Brexit, I guess. I don't know if these tariffs would also include the United Kingdom, so maybe not. And obviously Canada. So the EU and Canada, that's a big chunk of our exports. It's looking about, pushing towards $1 billion. The overall American whiskey sales in 2023 was $5.3 billion. Yes, and in 2024, that actually, the revenue, as I've reported on the channel, because the bourbon boom is over, it fell 1.8% to $5.2 billion in revenue. So we're having a contraction. And that's despite now 2023 and 2024 were record export years. So whiskey distillers and producers are kind of freaking out now because they're used to that really awesome growth. So they're trying to push their products out into foreign markets to maintain that growth that they got so used to and fell in love with. It's nice to have that kind of growth in your market, but it's just not sustainable. And these tariffs are obviously gonna make that stop. So if we're looking at exports, overall sales of U.S. American whiskey, $5.2 billion. If we compare that to the exports in tariffed countries, it's $700 million and $76 million. So pushing $80 million. So that's not a fifth, a sixth or a seventh of the total sales of what is produced here in the U.S. That's big. If that's cut in half, you're going to see some hurt being put on some distilleries. Most of the stuff that's exported, I know for a fact in Canada is really, really low shelf. It's Jack Daniels. It's basic, it's Jesus, what are some of that really low shelf stuff? I can't even think of it. Jack Daniels, like low end Knob Creek, Jim Beam. It's very low end stuff that's predominantly sent to Canada. I know Japan gets better stuff because I know they do get like Buffalo Tracy and stuff. I imagine the European Union is the same. And if you look at this, which is very telling, is the top 10 states exporting U.S. spirits. It's Tennessee. It's almost 2-1 Tennessee to Kentucky, which means it's not bourbon. It's almost predominantly Jack Daniels that's getting drank globally. Like, this is going to put a hurt on Jack Daniels. I mean, I think overwhelmingly the tariffs are going to hurt Jack Daniels. But the thing about Jack Daniels is they're such a massive distillery and they do so much product that I don't think ultimately it's going to hurt them. They'll have to adjust and modify their production, of course. But Jack Daniel's number 7 is just such an iconic, huge whiskey just sold everywhere globally that it's almost like Pepsi or Coke. It's just massive. So even if it does take a huge hit, you're still looking at just such a massive company with such a massive distribution that, how badly is it going to affect them? I don't know. Of course, this is, Brown-Forman. I know Brown-Forman stock has been collapsing, has been really, really tanking of late because people know the, EU tariffs are going to overwhelmingly hurt Tennessee and Jack Daniels. So that's something to look out for. And again, 2023, 2024 were record year exports. And that's, again, because the whiskey boom is over here in the United States. So they are trying their damnedest to get their product out into global markets. And the EU is the largest export market, approximately 40% of U.S. spirits being exported. The EU totaling 883 million. So definitely the bulk of U.S. exports is bourbon and whiskey, which makes sense. We make the best whiskey in the world by far here in the United States. Major bourbon distiller in Kentucky, such as Brown-Forman, which has 55% of its net sales coming from outside the U.S., are significant exporters. Okay, so as you're looking here, this is a three-year window at Brown-Forman, and you can see not good, right? And a lot of this, again, Jack Daniels and trade news, right? We're all the way down into the low 30s, all the way from peaking as high as 76. God, that's less than half. Tariffs are really going to be really, really rough on Brown-Forman. Really, really rough. And that's of course, Jack Daniels. You can see Brown-Forman's really falling off a cliff here. That's rough. You haven't seen these prices for Brown-Forman since the early 2000s. That's really, really wild stuff. Also, when we said in light of the tariffs and overall whiskey sales, as I said, are down in the U.S. The bourbon boom is over. There is a new boom, I predict, coming, and this is highlighted in this great article by Wooden Cork here. Key consumer trends driving bourbon sales. Okay, and this is the future. This is what I've been talking about and targeting a lot on my channel, and that is premiumized, high-end, super premium bourbon sales grew 18% in 2024. Think about that, right? So think about that. Overall American whiskey sales fell 1.8% in 2024, and ultra premium went up 18%. That's a 20% swing, right? So people are buying less low-end stuff and really targeting these high-end bourbons, right? They even point out collectability bottles like Pappy Van Winkle and Blanton's remain hot commodities on the secondary market. Okay, that's not completely true, as we've also covered in this channel. We've seen probably a good 25 to 30% decrease in the secondary market for collectible and for allocated bottles, and that's held pretty tight now for I think about a year and a half now. We've had a solid 25-30% decrease that's held. So that's like the new market, So the hot commodity market for these collectibles isn't as hot as they might, suspect. Craft innovation. Over 2,500 U.S. craft distilleries are offering unique mash bills, finishes, and small batch experiences. Okay, I've also talked about this on the channel. These videos that I talk about the craft distillery world don't get as many views, so a lot of people don't know that I'm predicting this, and this will come to be. But in the United States, I think back in early 2000s, the U.S., we had something like 100 distilleries or 200 distilleries, and we now have over 3,000 distilleries in the United States of America. And with the bourbon boom coming to an end, American whiskey sales falling, and now with tariffs, nowhere to export this stuff, we're going to see a craft distillery bloodbath of the highest order. I think you're going to see small distillers and small distilleries actually like for sale for literally $1. I think you're going to find distilling equipment, copper stills and things being recycled or just given away you haul, you get the money type things. It's going to be really, really nasty for craft distillers, especially the distillers that are just opening now or open in the last 3 or 4 years. They're going to get hit really, really hard, and it's going to get ugly for them. But we'll see. That's going to take, I think, another year or two before we really start to see the bloodbath coming out and out. But this, as I've also predicted, and nobody's watched these videos, but I recommend checking them out. I'll maybe link them down below. The golden age of bourbon. This is going to actually end up creating a golden age of bourbon for consumers. We've been in a producer's market for the past decade. We're going to move into an amazing 10-year window of a literal golden age for whiskey consumers. And it's going to be amazing. Like I said, I'll link that video down below here, or put it in the end of this video here, somewhere along the side here. So check that out. So the big news, of course, is tariffs and high-end super premium bourbon sales. This is what's carrying the market, and this is going to continue to grow. I don't see the super premiumized high-end stuff coming down, and that is because, again, as I talked about on this channel, a lot of people got into the bourbon world, during COVID or just pre-COVID, and there's a 2 or 3 year window there where, tens of thousands of people were trying every bottle they could in the world, and, well, all those people have now given up on experimentation, and they are laser focused on getting really, really good stuff, like Jack Daniel's 14s or Russell's 15s or BTAC, things of this nature, right? High-end, high-allocated, high-quality stuff. So the market is laser focused on getting this stuff, and it's going to keep being driven that way. And this is another factor that's going to lead to the fabled whiskey golden age. So I hope you enjoyed this bourbon market update very much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Please consider donating to the Patreon, which is linked down in the description box. And thank you for watching Bourbon Forage Fishing. Take care.